This one was sent to CornyDriveThru at gmail.com from Christopher Albright in Altus, Oklahoma. Hello to the Boss Hog and Sheriff Roscoe P. Coltrane of the podcasting world.
I'm not sure that's complimentary for either one of us, Roscoe.
Recently on Facebook, Bobby Eaton's wife shared a video of Andre the Giant and Bobby in a 6-man match.
Oh, yeah.
Bobby's wife said that Bobby was Andre's driver in the Tennessee Territory. Does Jim know of this? And did Bobby ever tell Jim any good road stories about driving Andre the Giant around?
Well, no, and first of all, that match, a lot of people saw the clip on Twitter. It was a 6-man tag. It was when Bobby was a member of the first family of Jimmy Hart. So it was Lawler, Andre, and Coco Ware, I believe, against Bobby Eaton. Oh, my God. Anyway, the clip was of Bobby mostly interacting with Andre, and nobody had seen that before because it didn't really happen that often. That match was in Memphis. I was there that night. They had one in Lexington, Kentucky, about the same time period. This was when in 83, when Andre was still free to travel and make territory shots, which came to a close in 84 when Vince Jr. took over fully and started his expansion. So anyway, yeah, I was there that night to watch that match in Memphis, and Andre loved working with guys like Bobby because, you know, they made him look even more spectacular than he did already, and Bobby'd take the bumps and all that stuff. Although, you see, you can tell Bobby's calling backdrop, right? Andre shoots Bobby off, and he bends over, and Bobby's going to take a backdrop from Andre. Well, Andre backdropped him like he did most of the guys that he worked with, which was he just kind of halfway stand up and let the guy kind of take his own bump off his back. He didn't realize that Bobby was taking bigger backdrops than that from normal size guys. And that he was wanting a push off. He was going for the record, right? So it was kind of like a letdown on the backdrop from what you would think. But Bobby he was just a greyhound in those days. And where the driver part comes in, that was working for Nick. At the time in Memphis, when Bobby was working there, he was against Andre because Bobby was a heel working for the first family. But when Andre would come in to the Nashville end of the territory in the late 70s and working for Nick Goulas, Bobby was a babyface. A lot of time either teamed up with George Goulas, the Jet Set, or whatever. So Bobby was, you know, one of a few guys that the promoter would trust enough to, okay, you're going to pick up the Giant and take him to so-and-so, or pick up the Giant and take him to so-and-so, because Andre didn't just come in the goddamn territory and rent a car and go about his own business. You catered to that guy. You made sure he was picked up and he was with the boys and he was taken to the right place and there for the show and everything. So the only reason I'm not surprised that Nick had Bobby do that, and it wasn't like this was a months-long job. You know, Andre would come into territory, especially in the Knicks, for like 3 or 4 shots or whatever. But I'm surprised that Nick would let Bobby carry Andre around, not because he wasn't responsible enough, but just Bobby always had the worst fucking cars in the world, especially because the way that Nick paid everybody. His first couple years in the business, when he was still one of the Brown Bombers and working under the mask with his partner Orville Hutto, and then really just breaking in as a young babyface, Bobby was making car payments on 2 different used cars, and neither one of them ran, so he was riding a Greyhound bus to the matches. And then finally, he had the USS Alabama, God, I'm going to say 5 or 6 years, until finally we ran it to the ground in Louisiana and in Texas. But the USS Alabama was like a 1976 Lincoln Continental, piss yellow. And those things were so big you had to pay 2 parking meters back then. So, but he would get them used because, he wasn't making enough money to afford a brand new Lincoln Continental, but he'd get them like 4 years old or 5 years old with 100,000 miles on them and then run them to fucking death. And at least you could get Andre in a Lincoln Continental. You just couldn't guarantee sometimes the Lincoln Continental was going to make it to the matches. At one point, Bobby'd have to stop every 100 miles to check his gas and put some oil in, rather than the other way around. Andre the Giant.
Andre the Giant.